let's make this Homer Simpson rug effect cake. Start by putting your image onto the side of a very cold cake. This cake must be frozen. Now what you can do is you can either draw it yourself by freehand, or you can take it off of a picture of something, maybe on an iPad or something, and trace it through. Pop some pins in to keep it to the side of the cake. You obviously need the cake to be hard here, because what we're going to do is we're going to trace over the top of the marks. Now make sure that the pen mark is at the front bit there, not onto the back of the cake. You don't want any of that coming off onto the back of the cake. I have used the edible pens here. So keep going, but only with a pressure that is not so hard that it rips. You don't want it to rip, you just want to make sure that it's just going to leave those indentations. So once you've gone all the way over your image, we're going to remove the pins and then remove the image as well. So now let's just go over those fine marks that you've made, just so that you can see all the time exactly where you're going, because you don't want to lose the image that you've just taken ages to trace over. If at any point your cake is looking like it's defrosting too much and you're not just getting those really clean marks, just pop it back in the freezer just for 5 minutes and carry on. It depends on obviously how hot it is. If you're really lucky and it's really hot where you are. So once the front is completed, we're going to do the back part. So I've taken a line from back to front so that I can see roughly that they are in the right places. And now I'm putting the back part on, again exactly the same with the pins, tracing over. Again, if it's a little bit soft, pop it back in the freezer for 5 minutes. But mine had been left in overnight and it is really quite hard. So then I'm going to go over again just so that I can see all of those indentations. Right, it's time to pipe. I am using a number 14 nozzle. So what we're going to do is, because it's a rug effect, we have to make sure that everything is neatly in a line. So we're going to go across the top and then underneath again, all the way across. Now, if you're struggling to get those looking uniform, I count. So I go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I know when I'm squeezing the bag that it's roughly around about the same amount of pressure and the same amount of time. So again, keep going. I've sped you up just a little bit here so that you get those consistent lines going all the way through. Now I am going to speed you up a little bit on some of this just because I don't want to cut it out, because I want you to see exactly how the effect comes along, but at the same time you'd be bored otherwise. Right, so now we're going to go on to the mouth doing the very same thing again. Now I will put on the side here all the different colours that I am using. I'll put little images up. So again, you can see those lines straight across constantly. If one looks slightly too big, because it does need to be uniform looking, just with your finger, just give it a little dab down and it will all fall in uniform. Right, don't forget the back part. As you've got the colours on, do the same thing front and back. So remember, this is all the number 14 nozzle. So we're gone in with the yellow again there, and we're doing again lines, front and back. So I love this. I love doing something uniform. It makes me feel so happy and content. Be really careful when you get around the eyes. Just make sure that you don't merge those colours too much into one another, and just keep going along. Look, as soon as the nose comes on and ready, you can really see it starting to pop out. It's so good. I love it. Now what we're going to do is we're not going to do the black until last. So I'm just putting on some green here because we're going to put on the kind of more shaggier part of the rug. So I'm just using the Sugar Paste Flexi Scrapers here. They are amazing. And for this, because they're flexible, it's so much easier just to smooth that down. It's absolutely brilliant. Don't go too close to your image because you don't want to get green all over your image. Just tiny in like that all the way around. Right, grass tip. Don't know the number of this one. I will write it in the comments underneath. And then we're just coming in. Again, don't go too close to the image, but it needs to be close enough. Just don't have them overlapping. We are going to put black in between. Now this isn't looking overly uniform, and that's not a problem. I'll show you why when we finish the whole thing. Now this is probably the longest part of the whole cake, so I am going to speed you up again here. But as you can see, what I'm doing is, again, it's that really uniformed line on top of one another, constant lines. Now I've had a really good look at a rug here, and you had like the image was a lot tighter and then it was a bit shaggier on the outer parts, which is why we've used a different nozzle. So what we're going to do, once you've done it all the way around, we go up into the top and again round and round. This is the fun bit. We want it to look that uniform, kind of all shaggy but all the same size. So I put it back in the freezer just for 10 minutes because then it was absolutely fine. It's only the outer bits you want to set, and then take some scissors and it's literally like giving a cake a haircut. Look at this. I feel like a hairdresser. Look, I am so happy doing this. Look, little edges and everything. So what? Just try and make it as uniform as you can because it's frozen. It's not going to blob into each other and everything. It will hold its shape really, really well. And just try and get that so that when you lean it on the side, you can see, looking through it, that it is all one level. So have fun with this. I did. And if it gets too wet, again, back into the freezer, but I didn't have to. Right, in with that black. This is our final part. This is where you can really see it starting to pop out. So all of the gaps in between. Now, some of them, you might have to do a slight overlap. Again, be really uniform with it. Try and keep them the same sizes. So do the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 if you need to. And see that gap we left around the outside there. That's absolutely fine because we're just managing to fill those in. So you might have the little bits that you've had to kind of guess a little bit that you went over, but you could have left little gaps in the middle of those. So like on the hair mark that we're going to do in just a second, you could have left those a little bit blank in the middle to give enough room to put that black in. So we're just going to follow that through. Any little bits that you missed, just go back across like I just did there. And then we are just, look at, you can start seeing it really come together. I love it. Right, now we're going to do the grass across the top. So any of those parts where the black was and the grass, if it's not quite met, this is brilliant here because you can create that effect and you can just like fill it in and no one will ever know. But we're just going round and round and it starts to pop, really pop. That black is stunning. Fill in the extra bits around the side, and now we're going to do the eyes. Now go very gently with the eyes. There should have been a hole, you should have left the hole there, and just less is more. Fill in if you need to. Same on the face. So I have, like I said, I've kept this in for you because it's really interesting just to see it sped up coming together, and you can also see the lines, and even if I make a little mistake you can see how I correct it. So as I'm going around on the eyes, just so you can see there's a little gap that I have missed. Now I keep going and I don't quite realise I've done it, but I do go and fill that in just a second. So there's a gap there on the side as well with the black that I've left on the outline. I'm going to get that with that grass effect around the side, but there it is. Look, so easy just to fill it in as well. Please be careful as you're going along with all of this that your bag doesn't get too wet because it'll ruin, and don't have your buttercream so thick either, because if you press too hard and you get too much of a bulb, it's going to shoot everywhere and you'll lose what you're doing. So keep an eye on that bag where the nozzle is and just make sure that it's not bulging. So we're coming to the final parts now, and it really has just popped right out. I absolutely love this technique. It probably took me around about an hour and a half to do, and I absolutely love it. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you really soon.